Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Think Outside the Board. I'm your host, Brian Toohey. And today I'm starting a new video series, the Teach and Review. And the inaugural episode here will be featuring Dixit. Dixit is a party game for 3 to 6 players, where each round players will take turns in the role of the storyteller, trying to communicate their cards to at least one, but not all of the other players, with a word, phrase, sentence, or sound effect. So join me for a quick teach, and then I will give you my review of the game and my opinions about it. So as you can see, there aren't too many components involved in Dixit. Each player is going to start the game with one of these colored rabbits and 6 scoring tokens in their color. However, you will only need as many scoring tokens as you have players in the game. So if you are only playing with 4 players, then you only need 4 scoring tokens, 1 through 4. If you have 5 players, you're going to need the first 5 scoring tokens. If you have 6 players, you're going to need all 6 scoring tokens. So each player will be dealt a starting hand of 6 cards. And I'm just going to deal myself a starting hand so you can take a look at some of this really beautiful card art. Now, each player is going to take a turn as the storyteller, and that role will rotate clockwise each round. So in any given round, the storyteller is going to look at their hand, they're going to select one card, and they're going to think of a word or a sentence or a phrase or even a sound to describe that card. So let's say I chose this card and I picked the very generic term music to describe this card. So I would place my card, my selected card, face down. I would tell everybody that word, music, and then everyone would have to go through their hands of 6 cards and find a card in their hand that they think also best describes music. Then those players would all take their cards and they would put the cards down from their hands representing music. I would take these cards, I'd shuffle them up, and then I'd place them one at a time, face up. Now, some editions of the game have a scoring track, and it has little kind of tabs on the side so you can just slot the cards in where the numbers are. If you're playing with the version that I have, where it has this scoring track within the box, you could have that storyteller take their scoring tokens and use those to set up places for the cards so that the cards are each marked by number like this. And as I put each card down, I'm going to repeat the keyword or phrase or sentence. So I would put this down, I would say music. I'd put the next one down and I'd say music. I'd just kind of keep repeating that all the way down through the 6 cards. Next, each player individually needs to decide which card is the correct card, which card is the card that I picked. For instance, here would be mine. This is the one that I put down. Nobody would know that, but it would be music. And then here are all the other cards that people may have selected to represent music. This is kind of a bad representation because I just put them out randomly, but theoretically they'd all be representing music. So each player needs to decide which is actually my card representing music. So they're going to take their 6 player tokens. They're going to decide which card it is. Let's say this player chose this card right here. So they'll take the number that corresponds with that card and they'll put it face down. And the reason that they put it face down is so that nobody else knows what card they picked and it won't influence it. So if someone's kind of unsure of what to pick, they won't get to see, 3 or 4 4s or 3 or 4 1s and then put in the same token. It will all be secretly done. Now, once everybody has placed their vote, the storyteller is going to turn all the votes over and put them on the cards that the people voted for. If nobody picked the storyteller's card, then the storyteller gets 0 points and everybody else gets 2 points. If everyone picked the storyteller's card, then the storyteller gets no points and everyone else gets 2 points. But if at least one person guessed the storyteller's card, then the storyteller will get 3 points and everybody who voted for that card will also get 3 points. In addition, each player will be able to get points if anyone else votes for the card that they, threw in from their own hand. So for instance, in this case, player 4 would pick up an extra 2 points because 2 other people voted for his card. Player 5 would also get 2 points, and player 3 would get 1 point. The only exception to this is that you can't vote for your own card. So if you have no idea who the storyteller is, you're not allowed to just throw a vote on your card in the hope of getting 1 point. You cannot vote for your own card. So as you can see, the storyteller is incentivized to come up with a clue that some people will get, but not everyone will get. After the round's over, the role of storyteller will shift clockwise and a new round will begin. Play will continue until the last of the 84 cards is drawn. Now that means that in a 6-player game, you're going to play 8 rounds, and in a 3-player game, you're going to play 22 rounds. That's a lot of Dixit. And so some groups just go whoever gets to the 30-point end of the track first. Either way, in the end, when you finish the game, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. So here comes the review section. First of all, let's talk about who made the game. So the game is published by Libelud, and it's designed by Jean-Louis Rubira with art by Marie Cardouat. Now, Marie Cardouat has done a few other games like Steam Park and Marrakech, and Jean-Louis Rubira mainly has stuck with the Dixit franchise. So there are a lot of expansion packs with cards. He has designed kind of everything Dixit. The art on this version is Marie Cardouat, but if you get other expansion packs with other cards, different expansion packs are drawn by different artists. Now, as far as time, complexity, and genre goes, Dixit is a light game for 3 to 6 players. It takes about 30 minutes to play, and it's a card game and a party game featuring voting as the primary mechanism. Theme and production quality. So the theme is fairly non-existent with Dixit. The theme is really the worlds that are being created by these wonderful, beautiful cards, and people struggling to communicate based on those cards and the artwork. The production quality of the game, again, is all about the card art, and it's gorgeous. But other than that, you've got the tokens and the board, and they're fine. They don't really need to be better produced over functional cardboard, and they're not. So the overall production quality and table presence of the game leans heavily on that card art and people's interactions with it. Okay, let's talk about the gameplay loop for a second here. And I always talk about this, the gameplay loop, whether it's video games or board games or whatever. But essentially, the gameplay loop is the thing that, as a player in the game, you are going to be doing repeatedly, over and over every turn. And my take on this is that if you like the gameplay loop of a game, you're going to like the game. Like, even if it's not the greatest game in the world, if you enjoy what you're doing, chances are you're going to enjoy doing it over and over again. And if you don't like doing that thing over and over again, it doesn't really matter how good the game is or how well rated it is, you're not going to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy that central thing that you're going to be doing over and over and over again, then this game is not for you. Now, in Dixit, the central gameplay loop is really 2 things. First of all, it's sitting there and trying to come up with a card that's going to match the storyteller's phrase or sentence or sound or whatever it is that they've given as a clue. So that's the first part of your gameplay loop. You're going to be looking at your cards and trying to come up with a card that is perhaps even more appropriate than what the storyteller is playing, and it's a way for you to kind of steal some points. The second thing that you're going to be doing over and over again is trying to figure out what the storyteller's card is based on that clue. So those are the two things you're going to be doing over and over in this game. If in looking at the card art, it's appealing to you and you like it, and that idea of trying to create a certain kind of phrase that people are going to respond to, not everybody, but some people, then you should like the game. If this sounds terrible to you, then this is not the game for you. Replayability. Well, the game is highly replayable. And the reason is that it's going to be variable based on the people playing and those people's experiences with the cards that they're getting each round. So in the base game, you start with 84 cards. As you play the game more and more, those cards will start to cycle around quite a bit. So if you, as the game owner, start to get tired of seeing these same cards over and over again, you can pick up an expansion pack. There are, I think at least 20 expansion packs out there, somewhere around there. And each one of these expansions has 84 new cards. So the more you play it, the more you need to refresh your game, the more you buy these expansion packs. If you shuffle them all in together and pick 84 random cards per game based on your ever-growing collection of expansion packs, the game has almost unlimited replayability. Comparisons. So the two games that I think are really the best comparisons for Dixit are other games by Libelud, Mysterium and Shadows Amsterdam. Now, Mysterium kind of takes the Dixit formula to a new level. It casts one player as a ghost who's trying to communicate a crime to the other players, non-verbally, using card art. So it kind of puts this, spooky haunted house ghost theme on top of it, and it changes the central gameplay of Dixit from being competitive to cooperative, with all the players working together to try to figure out the ghost's 3 clues or 3 cards. Now, Shadows Amsterdam takes another variation on gameplay, and it divides the players into 2 teams, and then the teams are playing competitively against each other to try to solve a case. And there's also some fun anthropomorphic art on Shadows Amsterdam. But those 3 games are really kind of all of a piece, and they're all provided to you by Libelud. Now, this is the section where I offer you some hot tips, hot gameplay tips, pro tips. And with Dixit, there really only is one kind of central strategy tip. And remember, during the teach, I mentioned that as the storyteller, you need to get at least one person to correctly guess your card, but you don't want everyone to guess your card. So if everyone guesses your card, you get 0 points. If no one guesses your card, you get 0 points. So you are being driven to create some kind of clue that some of the players at the table will get, but not all. Which means that you want to come up with a clue that's specific enough that some of the people will be guided to your card, but not so specific that everybody is. So it needs to kind of walk this line between being specific and general. That means that the best way to play this game is usually with a group of people that already know each other. Because if you are playing with strangers, you don't know who's going to respond to what clue. But if you're playing with a group of people that you know, you can kind of tailor your clue. You can tailor that clue so that some people you think will get it and other people you think won't. A lot of times that means that you're choosing a clue by subject matter. So you're kind of identifying something that some people will have a background in and be able to pick up, but something that other people won't. And if you can kind of target those, kind of general spaces for your clue, you'll do very well at Dixit. For example, there is one card that looks very much like a scene out of the video game franchise BioShock. So I've played this game with groups where some people in that group were video game players and some people were very much not. Some people were not video game players to the point that they knew nothing about video games. They would never know anything about video games. In that group, someone did give a clue for this card, and their clue was BioShock. So they knew that there were a couple people in the group who probably would get it, and there were a few people in the group who definitely would not. So that's an example of the kind of clue you want to be giving in Dixit, although it doesn't have to be about video games. Really, it's just anything that some people will know, but not everybody will. All right, let me give you my personal opinion on the game, what I like and what I don't like. I like the beautiful card art. I think it's very creative, and um, it's sort of like a Rorschach test, for what a person's brain is going to come up with. And there are so many different elements on the cards. It's very kind of abstract. It lends itself to a person picking up on, any part of the card and their mind going somewhere with it. So I like that. I like the fact that the cards just have this very pretty, colorful, abstract art that is very well designed to send any person off in a number of different places. And of course, because those can be a little, vague or opinionated, it also makes the interplay between cards, when another person places a card out trying to steal the votes away, it makes for some compelling gameplay. I also like the simplicity of the game. I mean, this is a game that you can quickly explain to somebody in a couple minutes. You can get up and play it. It's personally, I think it's a very fun game. I think it's something that anyone can have a good time playing, but there's no high barrier to entry. Like, this is a very, very light game. It's very reactive. You are in the moment kind of dealing with these cards. There's not heavy planning. So you can play it with anybody. It's quick to get to the table. It's quick to play, easy to teach, and generally it's just a lot of fun. What do I dislike about Dixit? Nothing. There's really nothing that I dislike about the game. I'm not a huge fan of party games in general, specifically social deduction games. So something like Dixit is a jewel to have in my collection because it gives me a party game that I can play with up to 6 people, and it's just fun. It's fun for everybody. So who is Dixit for? Everyone. I would say the game is for everyone. And I realize that there's going to be some people who won't like Dixit, but there are people out there who don't like ice cream or puppies or happiness or joy. It's just the way things roll out. Not everybody is going to like everything, but most people are going to like Dixit. And it's also really easy to figure out who's going to like Dixit. Just by showing them the cards and kind of briefly explaining the game, people will have a very good idea if it's something that they'll like or not. So it doesn't take a lot of time to figure it out. It's not something you have to play a few times to decide if you like. You're either going to like the central idea of playing Dixit or you're not. Done. So thank you very much for watching this teach and review video. I hope it helped. I hope it gave you some idea if you will like Dixit, or if you'll be in that group of people that doesn't like ice cream or puppies or happiness or joy. Please remember, if you like the video, to like it, subscribe, and if you want to be notified whenever I publish videos in the future, you can also hit the alarm bell. I'll see you in the next video.